Hello everyone, welcome back for another Warframe video, and today I will be talking about Valkyr since she just got a rework not that long ago, and I've had plenty of time to test her with a bunch of different builds, and I will show you the one I settled on. It's very simple, basic, but very effective even at high level steel path. Just don't see many problems. Her main thing is, now that she's not invincible, you essentially have to stay in the fight at all times to keep you up your invincibility, right? And when they say you gotta stay at your 150 or above on your bar for her passive, and then you become invincible, it really isn't that difficult at higher tiers because you're getting that built up so quickly. I guess before we start with the mods, I'll get into. I did Nourish over her 1. You can do her 1 or her 3. It's just preferential. I know a lot of people prefer her 1. Myself, I don't like her 1, so I went with I covered that up with Nourish since I do use Paralysis every once in a while, right? So I decided to helmet her 1 off, and with that, I did first shards. I got one Talforge Violet Archon shard for crit damage, right? When energy's over 500, it's doubled, right? So I made sure I'll have flow on. And the other 4 are just armor, which you'll see in a little bit. Now for Aura mod, I went with Steel Charge. I've tried it with like Stand United, Physique, and what's the one that? What is it? It is Ready Steel. I tried it with Ready Steel. Ready Steel is good for starting off, but once you get your build up, it's useless, right? So, I mean, it's good if you want to do your heavy attack spam, but I don't see a reason for it. As for other mods, Coax and Drift, just get your Steel Charge a little bit stronger so you're doing more damage with her Exalted Weapon, right? I went with the full Umbral set, health, armor, ability strength. That's going to be the strongest for the Intensify mods, right? So that's good. Not to mention she needs health and armor, as you'll see in a bit. Prime continuity. Again, you can go with regular continuity, regular flow if you don't have primed. But if you go with the regular flow, if your energy isn't over 500, you might want to take off one of those armor shards and put an energy one on. The only augment I chose for her is Eternal War. That'll keep her war cry up at all times, right? So I don't have to. Once I cast her Hysteria and her war cry, the only ones I got to cast are Nourish and Paralysis, right? And then Mars Hatred for more armor and ability strength, and Transient Fortitude for more ability strength. She loves ability strength, she loves armor. Simple as that. As for Arcanes, I went with Molt Augmented, get your ability strength built up. And then Arcane Reaper. So with Arcane Reaper, right, if you get your build up, right, and you got Hysteria active, not including Warcry's buff, because that seems to be buggy with the numbers, especially in mission. So you get Hysteria and you got Arcane Reaper plus the 3950 armor there. It roughly equates out to 13,500 armor, which is 99.0% or 99.01% damage reduction, which is amazing. Again, once you get to max, I guess it's 3,000, level 3,000 enemies or higher, they're going to technically one-shot you, but with the passive, if you are in the fight, you will be over 150% almost instantly as soon as that 5 seconds starts, right? You're going to go through a crowd of enemies, you're back up to over 150. It's not hard to keep that bar above 150. I will say that with my build, The only time I struggle with damage is right at the start with Grenier. Corpus, like all the other enemies, don't have enough armor to start with. That they just die immediately. But once you get like to a 2 or 3 times combo multiplier on her talons, everything, doesn't matter what level, is dying immediately, right? So start with Tennokai. I went with Dreamer's Wrath, right? And that's just for crit damage on your Tennokai attack, and you get it a lot, right? It's not not like some of the other ones where, oh hey, you get it every like 10 hits. This is like, I go through it, a crowd of enemies, I'm almost guaranteed to have it, right? You get it a lot. Primed Reach, mine's not maxed out. It's probably pretty equivalent to regular Reach, so that's not too essential. It's just because when you're doing your slide attack and you go through a crowd of enemies, you want to make sure you hit that entire crowd of enemies, right? As her claws don't really have that much range, so it just increases the range. Prime Fever Strike, because Toxin's good, right? I could have gone with any other element, would have been fine. I mean, don't have a super high status chance anyways. If you want, right? If you want to go for a hybrid, I'd say get rid of like Magnetic Rush, put on Weeping Wounds, and then you could even get rid of Gladiator Might for Galvanized Elementalist, right? You can go any way you want with this build. It's not super particular. And as for like damage, you got Prime Pressure Point, again Gladiator Might, Galvanized Steel, Amalgam, or Organ Shatter. This one's mostly for heavy attack wind-up speed, which increases for your Tennokai too, so it's really good. Blood Rush and Galvanized Steel, pretty self-explanatory, right? Building up that crit chance, building up that crit damage, you're good. As for Arcanes, I went with Melee Exposure. This may seem a little odd, but on ability cast, gain 40% corrosive damage on melee strikes for 25 seconds. So if I'm popping Nourish and Paralysis quite often, I am keeping up corrosive damage at all times. So that means I will have guaranteed corrosive, guaranteed viral procs at all times. And that is really good. Like I said, say you don't want to run Nourish, right? You want to run Wrathful Advance. It can be useful, and it doesn't make it so that you have more crit chance, right? But I'll show you in the mission. I'm getting up to red crits anyways. She does so much damage to begin with. Nourish is mostly here. Like, the damage increase is nice, but it's mostly here for the energy regen, or the energy increase. If you're keeping Hysteria up at all times, that's constant drain, right? You're popping Nourish and Paralysis at all times. That's a lot of energy consumption. And you want to be able to keep casting those over and over for that corrosive buff. And it's extremely helpful to make it so Nourish is extremely helpful to make sure you're able to pop and keep your other abilities up at all times. Go into a mission and show it off a little bit, right? Alright, so here we are in the mission, right? I'm gonna cast Hysteria first. Let me get some energy built up, and then I'll start popping my other abilities. As you can see, like the Infested and Steel Path, even now, it's just like, oh yeah, go through the crowd, they're all dead. Pop Nourish, since that's one nice thing with how I have my Helios set up. Every once in a while I'll get a free ability cast, so I'll use that for Nourish, get me more energy, right? And yeah, I mean, Infested aren't too much of a threat, right? But I have so much armor as is. Okay, I'm gonna pop War Cry since I got some more energy. Getting those red crits now. I'm at it 5 times. And then we're gonna make sure Roar or Nourish is kept up at all times. Cost, Nourish again, War Cry, Paralysis. Keep them up quite often. You may want to make sure you're staying in the fight. Enemies aren't spawning very well here, but either way, as you can see, getting those red crits, nice red crits, and everything's basically dying immediately. Pop that again, pop that, activate that. And as you can see, it's like you go through that, need to format again so I can have that primed reach maxed out, but make sure we're keeping all of our abilities up, right? And even if there's still plenty of time on it, just keep casting them, just so that you get that corrosive stacks up, right? And I don't have my Helios as a primer, so it's if you're running like Duraga, what are the other ones? Nautilus, you know, as status primers, it'd be a good idea to run Elementalist or Weeping Wounds, you know, have more status damage and damage overall, condition overload, all of those. And you can run like a hybrid build. I do have a separate build for that, but as I am right now today, I'm just showing off the crit one because this crit build is ridiculous.
Life support incoming.
To make sure and just keep popping all those abilities to keep up your corrosive stacks. Like, you're dealing so much damage, right? You don't even need a pop paralysis. But it's, you know, just to keep up your corrosive stacks, which is very helpful. And then once we get to the Acolyte, I can show you. It's like you don't even really notice him too much, right? So he's just in a group of enemies and immediately dies. If you are struggling with like the Acolyte or whatever, you can use Paralysis and it will slow him down a little bit. But again, it's not with this build. It's not necessary. It's mainly there to keep your corrosive stacks up. That's why I know a lot of people will like to Helminth over her 3rd and instead keep her 1. So you keep spamming her 1. But like I said, I'm not a big fan of it. I just find it to be really buggy. I don't know if everyone else is having that problem, but especially in maps like this, it just doesn't want to work properly for me. You want to make sure you're doing spin attacks, because as you can see, like, her regular attacks aren't very great, right? So you want to do slide and spin attacks. And you want to make sure you're staying in the fight at all times. Alright, so Acolyte's here. See if we even notice where he's at.
Our operative is making progress.
I don't see him.
When you need
I honestly didn't see where he was at. I know he was there, but yeah. Valkyr is doing asinine amount of damage. You don't even need like a perfect build for her to be able to kill enemies at high levels. If you really are struggling with Steel Path, she's a good frame, right? Like I said, she has so much armor. I don't like when you're in the tab thing, right? It says War Cry is given at about 161% armor increase, but if you look at the top of the screen, it says 391%. I don't know where all that extra armor's coming from, but you know, it's helpful. And I didn't really notice any damage until levels about 3,000-ish, because again, you're having like a 99 point, I think it was like 5 or 6 percent damage reduction, which again you don't really notice till high levels. But even then, it's kind of hard to notice until you start getting your invis procs up, because like I said, you stay in the fight and you keep hitting enemies, you're going to be invincible at all times. Okay, so here we are, and a Grenier survival on Sedna. Like I said, you get your kind of gotta get your stacks up a little bit. They have enough armor at the start where it's gonna struggle a little bit, right? But get that going, and then see we get to like a 3 times combo multiplier and no problems. And as you can see, even though I got Hysteria down, I don't know why it's not giving me any energy, but even with your, say you're using, like I'm using a Zaw right now, right? It's still keeping up my melee damage because that's just her passive. It doesn't have to be on Hysteria.
I've delivered a life support capsule to the area.
So even without her Hysteria, right, you see I start taking a little bit of damage, but at the same time, it's not enough to really kill me. Fall off the edge there and lose all my abilities again. Great. Grenier are going to be your hardest enemy, right? Corpus are just annoying because of the nullifiers. Other than that, they don't really pose a threat ever. And as you can see, okay, pop this, and then get combo multiplier up again. You would think with melee to melee you'd stay caught up, but for some reason it just erases it. And then we'll keep popping that, and yeah, it's like they're not a threat, right? It doesn't matter. The enemy, Valkyr, does not care. She is shredding them all. No threat to you. And like if you're struggling with Steel Path, she might be a good option for you. Just for the simple fact, like, you don't need a weapon built up. You got her claws, right? You don't need any super fancy mods or anything. Like, even if you take the Archon shards off of her, she's still ridiculously strong. Alright, so we're back here in the Orbiter, right? Final thoughts for Valkyr. I would say I was pretty negative when they revealed her rework, right? But after spending plenty of time playing with her, yeah, it kind of sucks that she's not invincible, but you, in return, right, she has so much armor, it's ridiculous. And once you do start feeling damage, if you're in the fight at all times, you're basically invincible already. So, I mean, you don't really notice the invincibility being gone. You just, as long as you stay in the fight, like I said, if you get in the fight, duck out, and you die, you're kind of screwed. Because if you're not in the fight at all times, you're going to notice that she doesn't have invincibility anymore. That's one thing I did notice. She does take less energy to keep her hysteria up, which is nice. So you got to use it more often. And if you get your max energy up right, like you get your bar filled up, then you basically have hysteria and war cry up at all times. Not to mention, you keep popping nourish, you'll be fine. And like I said before, I know a lot of people they would prefer to go over paralysis and Helminth over that ability and keep her one. Like I said, I wasn't a fan of her one. I don't know if it was just me, but it seemed to be bugging out quite a bit. That's why I chose to Helminth over her one instead of her three. Like, I will still pop paralysis every once in a while, just because, say you're struggling super high levels with the acolytes or something, which doesn't really happen, but just in case, you've got her paralysis and then they take more damage, right? So that can be extremely helpful. I would say, I mean, if you don't have all these shards, right, I mean, try and keep up with the armor, but if you don't have like a purple, because I know they're harder to get, I would recommend to do energy filled on spawn, just to make sure you can get your abilities active faster, right? Instead of having to, you know, pop them every once in a while, or like wait till you get a couple kills and then you pop it. It's not extremely helpful, is it? So, and then her claws, I feel like they're good, right? But I wouldn't say they're on top tier, mainly for the simple fact of her stance mod. They really need to do something about that stance mod. It is not good. I don't know what they could do really, unless they just make spin attacks her base, but I don't see them doing that. So slide for your attacks and you'll be good. Other than that, I do think this was a good change overall. I know there's going to be a lot of people salty about it, but even when I took her into the circuit and went max level there, she wasn't struggling at all. In fact, she had no problems. Granted, that's circuit. And then, like I said before, if you don't really start noticing any damage until like level 3000-ish, we're at over 99% damage reduction, it's going to take a lot for you to feel any pain, right? And then once you do, it's going to be a little bit before you actually start dying instantly, but then again, you're going to get the invincibility. Staying in the fight at all times, that's what she needs. Keep that rage meter built up, get it built up as fast as possible once you do go down, and it's like you never lost invincibility on her, right? So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy. Hope you try her out. Don't, like I said, I was negative against her, but she's surprisingly grew on me over these last couple days, weeks, whatever. And yeah, I think she's good. I would like to see more players use her, but I know she wasn't very popular to begin with. But like I said, if you're struggling with Steel Path, she's going to be a good frame for you. Alright, bye. See you in the next one.